Thank you for tuning into this yoga video where we're going to focus on the entire spine, feet, all the way up to the cervical spine, this back line, bladder energy of the body. And we'll warm up systematically, feet to head, and then we're working into our sun salutations. We'll work on mudras that help to open the upper spine, move the arms and shoulders a little bit. So for props, you may want to have a strap if things feel really tight. You may be okay without one. And then I want to do some mudras, right? Some hand yoga while we're in our balance poses. So you could have something to stabilize yourself, like a wall or chair nearby. And if it doesn't work, if you have to have one hand on the chair, a-okay, right? You could just do your mudra with one hand. All right, we'll get started back on the mat. Okay. Props. So we are going to start in the hero's pose. So we're targeting the lower body here. As we sit back, I'm sitting on a low block. So I've actually realized that the block, the second highest height for me, was too high, because I really want to feel that my sitting bones are grounding down. And with the block a little bit higher, I almost feel like I'm grounding down on my upper thighs and my bottom seems lifted. So I'm trying a little bit lower of a method, but right now we're giving a little compression to our calves. So if you're up and maybe your thighs aren't giving that compression because of knee sensitivity, your block's higher, you could reach down with your thumbs or with your fingers and just do a gentle press, working from your ankle up to your knee and then back down again. And maybe do that 2 or 3 times until you want to stop or you feel like you've gotten enough surface area. This bladder line that runs from the bottoms of the feet up the back of the legs, the spine, the neck, the head attaches to our forehead. We're just doing this work to soften these kind of chronically tight places that affect our forward fold. So we're doing some forward folds in our sun salutation today. Okay, next one, stretching the bottom of the feet. So we'll do toes pose, and you might have blocks handy. As you come into your tabletop, tuck the toes and then sit back. You could sit back on 2 blocks stacked on top of each other. Maybe one block, the first block on the ground on that lowest height, and the second block on the second highest height. Or maybe even stack 3 blocks if you need to, if this is really intense. Make sure all the toes are tucked under. And we'll take our Garuda mudra, or sorry, not Garuda, I keep saying that. We'll take our elephant mudra, our Ganesha mudra, where we clasp our hands, right? So the fingers of one hand clip into the other. And then as you have a gentle pull, you should feel this widening across the chest. We'll close our eyes and we'll take 5 breaths. Just imagine the bottoms of your feet are like taffy and it's just stretching and melting. And then we'll switch the grip of the hand so the opposite hand is on top. A little pull of the fingers and 5 more breaths. Okay, release. We'll come forward, and as you take your body weight off of your feet, you can untuck your toes, press the tops down, maybe give them a little tap, the top of your foot to the mat, a little wake up. Now we're going to come into a nice wide child's pose to work into the back and the inner leg line. We'll send the hips back towards the heels and reach the arms forward, rest the head. We'll take 5 breaths here. Working into the lower part of the spine, we'll come into Sphinx. Send your upper body forward until your legs are straight and long behind you. Tops of the feet are pressing down actively. And then your forearms, let's go ahead and make a fist with our hands, our fingers. And then as the forearms press down, they also pull back towards your chest to have this lengthening heart forward effect. And if the elbows are really close to your body, you could walk your hands a little bit further to do that. Become aware of your spine and the breath flowing into it. All right, we'll come into a little seal variation. You can walk your arms as forward as you have to, keeping your chest as low to the ground as you have to, with your arms extended, and thread the right arm underneath the left, come down on that right shoulder, maybe a block for the right temple or the forehead. You can bend the left knee up and out into your frog pose. Right knee will bend and lift, right hand reaches back for the foot. You could use your strap here. Now, as you do this, once you make contact with your strap or your foot, I want you to think the hand is pulling the foot towards the self, but the foot is resisting, trying to push away. So you have this isometric contraction going on where we're kind of really working muscles on both sides of the legs to stabilize. And then we'll release the right foot down, left leg long. We'll come back to our seal as we unthread, coming back into that low sphinxy variation where the arms are lifted. And then the left arm will thread under the right. The forehead or the temple will come down and the right leg will come into our frog. And the left leg will bend and the right hand reaches back, or use your strap. Remember that push and pull engagement of the arm and the foot. And release, legs long, untwist. Hands will scoot back and push yourself up to table. We'll take some cat-cows, warming up the spine, flexing and extending, moving with our breath. And actually, let's really slow this down today. Can you make your inhales and your exhales to a slow count of 7? So we really stay in the pose long enough to feel the spine. Come back to neutral. Okay. We're going to come into a little bit of a toe squat here. So I want you to find your blocks. Put them on the highest height, one under each hand. And as you come back, almost like into a supported toe pose with block, I'll tuck my toes under. I'll walk my arms back so that they're supporting me. And I'm going to lift my knees and come into that toe squat. I can also put a block maybe on the highest height underneath me if I need support. Or you could also keep your blocks in your hand and keep them next to you. This is calves and feet again, right? Also working into knee flexion. Now we've had a few moments to settle the lower body. Lift the heart, lift the gaze out towards the horizon. And then we'll see if maybe you can do your elephant mudra here, your Ganesha mudra, cupping your hands, giving a little pull. All right, hands come down to blocks. Maybe they didn't leave, that's okay. And then we're gonna come into our forward fold from here. So we can straighten the legs, bring the heels down, keep the knees somewhat soft as we bow. Give the head a little shake. Very gently, yes and no. And start to strengthen up your legs by being careful not to lock out the knee joints. Imagine that your quadricep muscles that kind of come in contact with the top of your knee are trying to lift up and away from your knee, and your outer hip muscles are hugging in towards your center line. Feel your feet rooting down. And that core muscle that really helps us with flexion and supporting us while we do it is starting to turn on and build some heat as we bow here on the exhales. All right, let's come into a halfway lift. You could use your supported blocks here in that highest height. Extend the arms, reach the heart forward, reach the gaze forward. Sit back into a low squat, reach one hand forward, the other hand forward. Step through your heel, feel that whole back line chain as you open your body up to the sky. And then hands by your side. Mountain. You made your way to the back of your mat. You can come to the front of your mat and find mountain pose. Right? We're going to take it through a sun salutation. Inhale, reach your arms high, breathe in. Exhale, forward fold in half. Long spine, inhale. Hands to blocks or to mat, step back to your plank. Measure that whole nice strong back body, keeping your front body open here. Knees could tap down and we'll lower all the way or halfway, getting ready for our Sphinx seal. We inhale. That's still the wrong word, cobra. And then exhale, back we go to dog pose. Okay, first down dog, opening up the back line of the body. You can walk the feet if you want. All right, step the right foot to the right thumb and bring the left knee down. Feel the tops of the feet rooting down. We'll lift our arms off the block, inhale. Our Anjali Mudra, hands to heart center, thumbs to sternum. Take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. We'll switch it out going through dog pose. So lifting the left knee, the right foot will step back. Then I'll take my left foot forward, knee down. Strong base. When you're ready, reach the arms high. Heart center. Breath in. Breath out. Back to dog we go. So in dog, you could do the hop to the top of your mat to come back into mountain, or you can practice what we did before, walking your hands back, coming into your toe squat, coming into your fold, and sitting back to rise. Right? Alternate transitions. We don't always have to hop to the top of our mat from down dog. Okay, let's get ready for our second salutation. Find your mountain and tune into that strong back line of your body that starts in your feet and goes all the way up. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Let all the breath out. Halfway lift, nice and long with your spine, supported with your core. Exhale to your plank. Keep that chin lifted, long in the back of the neck. Knees could tap down. Are we lower? Halfway or all the way? Take your supported back bend. Strong legs with knees down, heart reaches forward. Back to our dog. All right, and this time we're gonna take a low lunge, but we'll keep the back knee lifted. So as I step the right foot forward, the left knee stays up. I'm gonna take my block and plant it to about 11 o'clock and reach my right hand towards the sky. My torso turns towards the wall at the right of the room. Feel the outer hips hugging in as we twist the spine open. And then release, and back to dog we go. Now the left leg will come forward. You can step it forward or you can do the leg lift, whatever feels good for you. Right hand on the block, maybe 1 o'clock. Left arm reaches high. Strong rooted legs. When we express the upper body, sometimes we lose that mindful engagement of the lower body. Okay, let's go back to our dog pose. And then we'll come up. If you're using blocks, maybe you hop, right? Inhale, look forward, maybe both feet hop to the top of your mat. Sounds a lot like an elephant when you first do that, that's okay. Halfway lift, forward fold. Maybe you did the toe squat. We're sitting back to come up so we can really feel that strong back line and accentuate that at the top when we look up and find our mountain pose. Exhale. One more sun salutation. Mountain pose, nice and strong. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold. Long spine to plank. With strength, we lower. With strength, we back bend. And make our way into our dog. Let's take 5 breaths here. Right leg backing up. Come into your lunge again. Left leg will stay up. We're going to come up for crescent lunge. If it feels okay, the torso will lift up. Inhale, hands reach up. Hands by your side. Exhale, bring those hands to hips. All right, so we're going to come into a balance pose from here. We're going to come into figure 4, which will stretch and work the outer hips and the lower spine. Stay strong in your core. Hop that back foot up as much as you need to. The left leg will cross over the right thigh, my left ankle, and then I sit back. Once I've got the lower body, I'll find that mudra, Ganesha mudra. Right, and this removing the obstacles, half of it is our own obstacles and our thinking. The other half is the external obstacles. And that can be really helpful in our balance poses, because I don't know about you, but for me, that's when my mind starts to have a lot of opinions on what I can and cannot do. All right, release to your mountain pose. And we'll take our sun salutation down to down dog to do the other side, or you can stay in mountain. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Long spine to plank. Strengthen. Lower. Back bend. Knees down to dog. Left leg backing up. Left foot forward, crescent lunge. Inhale, we reach. Hands to hips, exhale. All right, and if you're mountain, you can just sit back and come to your figure 4. During your crescent lunge, the right leg hops forward, right ankle crosses over left thigh, sit back. Opposite hand on top for your mudra. Try to sit back, opposed to letting the front knee sneak forward. And release to your mountain. And we'll take one more sun salutation with a vinyasa, reach up. Fold. Lengthen out, feel that core. Keep everything on and lifted as you move back into your plank. We lower with strength. We take our back bend back to dog. Okay, somehow we're getting to the top of the mat. You choose. Right, we'll meet the mountain. You could do something we've done, or you could do something that we haven't done. You could just step, right? Powerful teacher said, why can't we just stand up and walk to the front of our mat, right? Like normal people. Don't have to do this vinyasa every time if we don't want to. Okay, let's step back from our mountain pose into a warrior one stance. Feel the outer hips hugging in to angle you towards the top of your mat. Rest the hands wherever it feels nice. Now we'll make this warrior one into warrior two transition. When we inhale, we reach the arms up. And then as we exhale, the left arm reaches back to the back of the mat, the right arm to the forward of the mat, front of the mat. And my feet are not on tightrope. It's a little bit of a train tracks, right? So my foot was to move to the top of the mat, my back foot. It wouldn't touch my front foot. And then we come into our depth. Gaze right over your front fingertips. Back breaths. Now we'll straighten the front leg. Turn both feet to the long edges of your mat. We'll come into our wide-legged forward fold. So options to have your hands free for the ground, or options to take the bind behind your back, interlace or use your strap. Inhale, reach the heart up. And as you soften the knees, bend at the hips. Make sure the head is soft and that the legs are strong. You want to feel a good connection with the inner edge and outer edge of your feet. So shift your energy accordingly. And release your hands to the ground. Find a little halfway lift. You could use blocks for this if you need to. Soften the knees slightly. Bring the hands to the hips. Bring the torso up. We'll come through our warrior two. We'll come through our warrior one. And we'll step back to our mountain pose. And we'll do that to the other side. Right leg back, warrior one. Outer hips hugging in to steer the hips towards the front of the mat. Coming into that bend of that front knee. On your next inhale, reach your arms up. We transition to warrior two, right arm back, left arm forward. Gaze over the front fingertips. Imagine you're reaching to someone behind you with that hand. Hold on, today's gonna be a doozy. We'll straighten the front leg, turn the feet towards the long edge of your mat. Interlace your hands behind you. Use your strap, or you could do hands to hips until you fold if you're bringing your hands to the ground. We lift and fold. Remember those strong legs, strong breath, strong core. Release the hands down, soften the knees. As you walk your hands underneath your shoulders, that little halfway lift, bend the knees, strengthen the legs. We'll come up with a flat back. We'll come into our warrior two. We come into our warrior one. And we step to our mountain pose. All right, let's take some seated postures. Find something that gives you a nice comfortable lift so that you can sit nicely. Like this is too low for me, right? It always changes. I think Mondays, right? Today's Monday for me. I'm always a little tighter. Okay, bottoms of the feet come together, let the knees fall open. You could support with blocks. And the first thing we want to do is feel those sitting bones rooting down and strengthen the lower body. Feel the muscles in your seat and your legs, giving a nice external rotation. And then we hinge at the hips. If you want to round, it's okay. Let the hands support you. Let your strong lower body and your core support you as you flex the spine too. Push the hands down to come up and extend your right leg out on a little bit of a diagonal. The left leg will stay in butterfly. Angle my torso towards my right leg. Flex at the hips, flex at the spine. Strong legs and core still in all of these seated postures. Come up and we'll switch sides. Left leg out, right leg in. Angle the torso to the extended leg. Find flexion in your hips, flexion in your spine, and strength in your lower body and core. As you push the ground away, come up. We'll extend both legs out, finding our Dandasana, our staff pose. Basically making an L shape with our body, kind of like a seated halfway lift. And I'll imagine that I'm standing on the ground as my feet are flexed, pushing away. It has this nice strengthening effect to my legs. And then my arms will either come beside me to fingertips or to palms, depending on the amount of space you have between them and the ground. And lift the heart, lift the gaze. Can you feel how that lifting of the heart and lifting of the gaze really makes the pose, right? When we bring the gaze into it, when we bring the mantra, right, the positive thinking of strength and flexibility, it's like the whole package then. All right, Paschimottanasana, our forward fold. Strong legs, strong core. As I hinge forward, you can stay there or let the hands come down and round the spine, let the head go. Come up, we'll take our seated twist. The right leg will bend and come to the other side of the left leg, the foot will tuck back to the hips. Finding our sitting bones, can you feel that internal eagle wrap of your legs? I've been noticing mine have been turning off a little bit in the pose, so I thought I would mention it. Right hand behind you, left arm comes up and over. Maybe do that wisdom mudra. Pointer to thumb, other fingers extended as we look over the back shoulder. And we're holding this whole body awareness of strong legs, strong core, breath, lifted spine, that it's all held with an open hand, not too gripping. It's like a little bit turned on everywhere. And release from the first side, extend the legs out. The left leg will bend now, hops over, right foot tucks back by the hip. Tall spine, strong legs and core. It's the same step, right arm up and over, find your mudra. Work with your breath into the pose. It's living and breathing. Something's always being added and taken away. It's like your whole pose is an organism. And unravel. All right, let's come onto our backs and we'll set up for bridge pose. I'm gonna have a block handy and you might have your strap handy if you wanna take the bind. I'll come to lay down, set up in half corpse with the knees right over the ankles at hip width distance. I hold the mat, my shoulders become a little closer as I walk them under. My lower spine is lengthening towards the top of my mat or bottom of your mat, wherever you're placed. And then step into your feet, lift the hips. Remember, those arms are supported. So whether you bind or keep holding to your mat or use your strap, they should be rooting down to protect the head. The ribs are melting into the body. The belly's melting towards the spine on your exhale. And you're lifting the frontal hip points higher. All right, come down and find your knee knock pose, goal pose shape with the arms. Another time, set yourself up. When you're ready, come up. Right, you can also rest or do a supported bridge if you need to. Then come down, rest for a few moments. Decide if you'll do one more. If you'll do one more, we'll work into some leg lifts. Okay. When you're ready, come up to your bridge. Interlace or use your strap with the hands. Create a nice firm base of your arms rooting down. The frontal hip points lifting up. Your strong seat muscles work. We'll bring the right knee into the chest and extend the right leg up. 3 more breaths here. Keep the hips lifting. And then we'll switch it down. Right leg comes down, left leg comes up. And lower when you're ready. If you haven't, find that knee knock one more time. And as you rest here, close your eyes and walk your mind's eye through your spine, from the cervical spine and the back of your neck all the way down to your tail. We'll take some windshield wipers with the legs, letting the knees fall side to side. And then we'll take butterfly pose, Supta Baddha Konasana, letting the bottoms of the feet come together. The knees fall open, rest one hand to the abdomen, one hand to the heart. Connect with the work you just did. Okay, we're going to come into waterfall with an option of the snail pose. So if you want to set up something for your shoulder blades to rest on, you could do that, right? If you don't want to do shoulder stand and you don't want to do plow, you just lift your hips similar to bridge and slide that block under. If you want to eventually come into a shoulder stand or a snail pose, you have a thickly rolled blanket, and then this is the block where my hips are going to come onto, and I kind of lower myself down this way. And you want to have the blanket supporting your upper shoulders, but not your neck, and you want your head to come to the floor that's behind it, right? Whatever variation you're coming into, we kind of start with the legs extended up towards the ceiling. And you can stay there in waterfall. If you're taking shoulder stand, you come into plow first, the arms root down next to you with the palms pressing into the earth, and the hips come up and off the block, and the toes touch down behind you. And you can walk your hands to your outer hips or up your back to support you. And it's okay if your knees bend, and it's okay if your feet don't touch the ground, but really stay intuitive here. And if it doesn't feel good, come out. If you want to come up into a shoulder stand, from your plow position, one leg will lift up and the other leg will lift up. And remember, you're standing on your shoulders. And then once you try your shoulder stand, you come back to plow. Hands can come down and you'll lower to that block. And we meet everybody in waterfall. And the feet come down. We set the block aside. If you have that blanket behind you, set that aside too. And we'll come into one last twist. Supine twist. So I'm going to wrap my right leg up and over my left. And I'll move my hips a little bit over to the right as my knees fall left to the ground or into a block. Notice if one of your shoulders seems lifted or higher than the other. Can you make it feel a little bit more equal as you gaze over the right hand? And come back to center with the hips, the legs uncross, and to the other side. My left leg wraps up and over my right. I move my hips over to the right as my knees fall to the ground or a prop. Check in with the shoulders. Gaze over the left arm. Back to center, uncross, and we'll find final rest. You could take Shavasana, half corpse, which I'm doing. You can just lay down on your mat, on your back, your side, your front, whatever would feel good. Rest the hands wherever it feels comfortable. Let go of alignment. And if the thoughts about what today brings come knocking, just kindly ask them to wait a few more moments. And Shavasana. when you're ready to come out of your Shavasana, try to start with some small, gentle movements, working from the extremities in towards the body. Notice if the body's calling for hugs or stretches, right? Pulling in or pulling out. And then maybe to come up, you tuck your chin, bring your hands behind your legs, and start to rock and roll, massaging the spine. Eventually, on your last roll, coming up to a seat. Sit tall, feel the sitting bones rooting down, the length and space you created in body and mind. And hands come to heart center, Anjali Mudra, with gratitude for all that we have. Together we breathe in and out. Namaste. Thank you for joining me and ask questions. We'd love to hear from you. Take care.